You are exhausted, but you do not truly know the underlying reason for this deep fatigue. Every morning, you wake up and repeat soulless routines, handling mounting responsibilities while a persistent, quiet anxiety hums deep within your chest. You feel as though you are fighting a losing defensive battle against your own life. A single negative text message can ruin your entire day, and a careless remark from a colleague can haunt your mind for nights on end. If you commit to staying with me until the very last second of this video, I will show you exactly how to build an impenetrable psychological armor, transforming you from a vulnerable victim into the absolute master of your destiny. Conversely, if you choose to leave now, you will continue to be a dry leaf, blown by the wind, completely helpless against the next inevitable storms of life. You believe this exhaustion is normal, a necessary price for surviving in a modern world filled with relentless pressure. However, the chaos in your mind is not a permanent condition, but rather the direct result of a lack of mental training. Over 2,000 years ago, Marcus Aurelius sat at the pinnacle of the known world as the emperor of the Roman Empire. He held absolute power. Yet he faced plagues that wiped out millions, endless border wars, and the crushing betrayal of his closest allies. By every modern psychological standard, his mind should have shattered under such immense pressure. Yet, history remembers him not for panic, but for a terrifying and unshakable calm that nothing could disturb. This emperor achieved such peace, not because his life was easy, but because he mastered an internal operating system that made him immune to external chaos. He understood a brutal psychological truth, which is that the world will always be unpredictable and harsh. However, your mind is a private kingdom where you hold absolute sovereignty, a place where no one can enter without your explicit permission. Today, we will dismantle the weak, reactive habits that are currently draining your life force every single day. We will explore 11 Stoic lessons extracted from the private journals of Marcus Aurelius. These are not soft motivational tips, but lethal, battle-tested protocols for total mental dominance. Before we begin this transformation, you must make a definitive choice. You must decide if you are truly ready to stop being a casualty of your own fluctuating emotions. If you are tired of surrendering your peace to a world you cannot control, demonstrate your resolve right now. Do not skip a single second of this guide, because every lesson serves as a foundation for the next. If even one link is missing, your psychological armor will have a fatal flaw. Seal your commitment to this path of self-mastery by focusing entirely on the wisdom that is about to be shared. The first lesson is the urgent need to reclaim the territory of your own mind. The root of almost all daily suffering stems from a fundamental misunderstanding of where your true power exists. You spend a massive amount of energy trying to manipulate the external world, trying to control what your boss thinks of you, or worrying about the fluctuations of the global economy. When the world inevitably refuses to bend to your will, you immediately collapse into frustration and despair. Marcus Aurelius established the ultimate law of mental strength, stating that you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find a strength that is both real and enduring. To become mentally formidable, you must aggressively draw a clear border around your own consciousness. Everything outside that border, such as the opinions of others, the mistakes of the past, or the uncertainty of the future, is completely out of your jurisdiction. You must stop fighting battles in territories that you do not own and cannot influence. When you shift your focus entirely to the things you can control, such as your interpretations, your effort, and your personal discipline, you strip the world of its ability to harm you. You stop being a victim of circumstance and become the author of your own reactions. The chaos outside will continue, but the panic inside will finally die. Next, you must learn to weaponize every obstacle that stands in your path. Think about how you typically react when something goes wrong, like a failed project or a broken relationship. Your automatic response is often to view yourself as a victim and ask why this is happening to you. You see resistance as a punishment or a sign that the universe is working against your progress. However, Stoic philosophy operates on a completely different frequency. What stands in the way becomes the way, and the impediment to action actually advances the action itself. A Stoic does not merely endure adversity. They use it as fuel for their growth. They understand that fire does not destroy gold. It only burns away the impurities to leave behind what is pure and valuable. When you encounter a massive obstacle, you must train your brain to stop seeing it as a wall and start seeing it as a forge. That difficult coworker is not a curse. They are a personal trainer for your emotional regulation and patience. Failure is not a permanent brand of incompetence, but a masterclass in what does not work. When you adopt this mindset, you become terrifyingly resilient because every force that tries to break you only provides the friction you need to sharpen your edge. The third lesson is the total eradication of the habit of complaining. We live in a culture that treats venting and whining as a competitive sport. We bond over mutual grievances and broadcast our exhaustion to anyone who will listen. You might think complaining is just a harmless way to let off steam, but psychologically, it is pure poison. Marcus Aurelius gave himself a brutal command, saying that everything that happens is either endurable or it is not. If it can be endured, then endure it and stop talking about it. If it cannot be endured, your complaints will still be useless, because the end of the situation will also be your end. Every time you complain, you are verbally confirming to your subconscious that you are a helpless victim. You are amplifying your own pain and leaking your vital energy into useless noise. To maintain a mind of steel, you must adopt a strict policy of zero complaining. When you strip away the emotional commentary from a situation, you are left only with the objective facts. Facts are things that can be dealt with and solved, while emotional noise only serves to cloud your judgment. The next time you are tempted to vocalize your frustration, swallow the grievance and redirect that energy into finding a concrete solution. The fourth lesson requires you to confine your awareness strictly to the present moment. Your mind is a restless time traveler, but it almost never visits a happy timeline. You spend your mornings agonizing over past mistakes that cannot be rewritten, and your evenings projecting yourself into a catastrophic future. You are fighting imaginary wars that have not even started, and you are bleeding emotionally for events that do not exist in physical reality. Do not let the vast panorama of your life oppress you, but instead, focus on the immediate difficulty right in front of your eyes. When you limit your consciousness to the current second, the unbearable weight of your life instantly evaporates. You realize that you only ever have to survive one moment at a time. The anxiety you feel is not caused by the task at hand, but by your attempt to carry the burdens of next week with the strength you have only for today. Snap your attention back to the now with absolute violence and look at the step directly under your feet. You will always have exactly enough strength to survive the present moment if you do not scatter that strength across time. The fifth lesson is the deliberate anticipation of the flaws of humanity to protect your internal peace. How many times a week are you disappointed or angered by the behavior of other people? Someone lies to you, someone betrays your trust, or someone acts with extreme selfishness. Your peace is shattered because you subconsciously expect the world to operate with perfect justice and kindness. Marcus Aurelius, despite his immense love for humanity, was a profound realist. He started every single day by telling himself that the people he would deal with would be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, and dishonest. This is not a pessimistic way to live, but rather the ultimate psychological armor. When you actively anticipate that people will be flawed and irrational, their bad behavior completely loses its element of surprise. You stop feeling personally attacked when someone acts out of their own ego, because you have already factored that ego into your daily equation. You observe their toxicity. You nod your head in recognition of the truth, and you move on completely untouched. You protect your peace by accepting that humans will be human, and you refuse to let their internal chaos dictate your internal calm. The sixth lesson involves stripping away the dramatic stories you tell yourself about your life. The events themselves do not cause your pain, but your interpretations of those events do. A Stoic understands the massive difference between objective reality and subjective judgment. If you lose your job, the objective reality is simply that a specific company will no longer deposit money into your account. That is the fact. However, your mind instantly adds a devastating story, claiming that you are a failure and your life is ruined. It is the story, not the fact, that makes it impossible for you to breathe. Marcus Aurelius taught himself to remove adjectives and emotional narratives from his perception. He looked at expensive meat and reminded himself it was just a dead bird. He looked at vintage wine and called it fermented grape juice. He deconstructed the glamour and the terror of the world into bare, boring facts. You must do the same with your own problems. When disaster strikes, strip away the horror script in your head. When you look at the raw, unedited facts of your situation, you will always find that they are manageable. The seventh lesson is the necessity of retreating into your inner citadel. Modern society has programmed you to constantly seek an escape from your stress. When you feel overwhelmed, you look for peace in a vacation, a retreat, or at the bottom of a bottle. However, physical escapes are always temporary, and wherever you go, you bring your chaotic mind with you. Aurelius recognized that the true sanctuary is never geographic. He wrote that nowhere can a person find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than within their own soul. You must build a fortress of stillness within your own mind that you can access at a moment's notice. You build this through daily periods of chosen silence and by disconnecting from the digital noise. When you cultivate this inner sanctuary, you no longer need your environment to be quiet in order for you to be calm. You can stand in the middle of a screaming crowd or in the center of a crisis and simply close your eyes. By taking one deep breath, you can descend into an untouchable reservoir of peace that the world cannot reach. The eighth lesson is the absolute dismissal of public opinion. As a measure of your worth, we live in a culture that is entirely addicted to the drug of validation. You curate your life and edit your words because you are terrified of being misunderstood or disliked by the masses. You allow the opinions of strangers, who do not even know their own minds, to govern your self-esteem. Marcus Aurelius found this deeply absurd, observing that we all love ourselves more than others, yet we care more about their opinion than our own. To become mentally strong, you must violently sever the cord of external validation. You must realize that the crowd is fickle, emotional, and easily distracted by the next shiny object. Why would you base the foundation of your identity on something as fragile as public approval? Let them judge you, and let them misunderstand your intentions. Their opinions are merely vibrations of air that possess no physical weight and can do you no harm unless you voluntarily pick them up. Live your life according to your own strict moral code, and treat the applause and the booing of the crowd as the same meaningless noise. The ninth lesson demands that you act as the architect of your own character through action. Many people spend their entire lives reading philosophy, and collecting inspirational quotes. Yet their daily habits never actually change. They remain reactive, lazy, and undisciplined, while hoping that intellectual understanding will magically translate into transformation. Aurelius had zero patience for this intellectual procrastination. He wrote the most devastatingly simple command in history, which was to waste no more time arguing what a good person should be, and to simply be one. Mental strength is not a theory you memorize. It is a practice you embody every single day. It does not matter how many books you have read if you cannot control your temper when you are insulted. It does not matter how much you know about resilience. If you quit the moment your work becomes difficult, you must stop preparing to live and start actively executing your values. Your character is forged solely by the actions you take in the present moment, particularly when no one is watching. Stop talking about the high standards you admire and start becoming the standard yourself. The 10th lesson is to rise to the duty of being a human being with purpose. The battle for your life is often won or lost the exact moment your alarm goes off in the morning. You open your eyes and the warmth of the bed holds you. While your immediate thought is that you want more comfort and more sleep, you negotiate with your weakness and you start your day from a position of total surrender. As an emperor, Marcus Aurelius had every luxury available to him. Yet he reminded himself that he had to go to work as a human being. He asked himself if he was created to huddle under blankets and stay warm, or to do what he was born for. You were not put on this earth to be endlessly comfortable or to seek perpetual rest. You were built to execute a purpose, to serve your community, and to forge a meaningful existence through resistance. When the morning comes, do not ask yourself how you feel, because feelings are irrelevant to duty. You hurl off the covers and you put your feet on the floor because action precedes motivation. Discipline is the ultimate form of self-love, and it begins with how you start your day. The final lesson is the clarifying lens of mortality, also known as memento mori. This is the ultimate secret of Stoic power, and it is the one truth that modern society tries desperately to hide from you. You act as though you have an infinite reserve of time, delaying hard conversations and postponing the pursuit of your true calling. You hold on to bitter grudges because you implicitly believe that you have thousands of tomorrows waiting for you. However, the reality is that you could leave life right this very second. Let that thought determine what you do. Sigh and think. Remembering that you will die is not meant to depress you, but to radically awaken you to the value of the present. When you view your current problems through the lens of your inevitable death, the trivial nonsense of life instantly burns away. Does it really matter that someone did not text you back when you consider the vastness of eternity? Will you be proud of the years you spent scrolling through a glowing screen while your actual life passed you by? Death is the great clarifier that reminds you that your time is the most expensive currency in the universe. These 11 lessons are not a passive philosophy for the weak, but a structural blueprint for a titanium mind. Marcus Aurelius did not write these words to sound profound to an audience in the year 2025. He wrote them in the mud of military camps and in the lonely hours of the night, fighting to keep his soul intact under the crushing weight of an empire. You have that same power within you right now. You have the ability to withdraw your energy from the chaos and to stop complaining about things you cannot change. It will not be easy, and the world will constantly try to pull you back into the noise of the masses. Your own ego will try to trick you into reacting with anger or fear, but every time you pause, every time you choose reason over rage, and every time you take responsibility instead of playing the victim, you lay another brick in your inner citadel. If you have made it to the very end of this video, it proves that you possess the rare hunger for true mastery. You are not like the masses who seek quick fixes and cheap entertainment, Prove your commitment right now by cementing this mindset into your reality. Take a moment to reflect on which of these lessons you need the most today. Share this wisdom with someone who is currently fighting a hard battle in the dark. And make sure you are always moving toward the highest version of yourself. Your journey toward an unshakable mind has only just begun. Leave your final unbreakable vow in the comments below, stating that you command your mind and you conquer your life. Stay grounded, stay disciplined, and guard your inner citadel with everything you have. I will see you in the next chapter of your transformation.